Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
All right, here we go. Subway Sports Talk. My name is Peter Kennedy, and I am your host. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in to SST on Apple Podcast app, Spotify, and now on YouTube. And now joining me, a very special guest. And if you are a Subway Sports Talk truther, an OG listener of SST, you are well aware of who this guy is. He hasn't been around in a while because we were lucky, realistically, to have him on SST a year ago because there was no high school football season. So Rocco Del Priore joined us every single week to talk NFL football last year. Now, this past season, he was on a championship run, a championship journey where they came out just short, runners up in the New York City High School League. Fantastic run at Monsignor Farrell High School defensive coordinator. And now I'm honored to say head coach Rocco Del Priore is joining Subway Sports Talk. Rock, coach, what is up, my guy? The 6th ever head coach in Monsignor Farrell High School history. I'm happy to have you here, bud.
Wow, Pete, that's some intro, man. Super excited to be back. My first love may be Farrell football, but you better believe Subway Sports Talk's my next love.
There you go.
Listen, I kept up. You, my man Pat Boyle, absolutely crushed it. Love the new features of the show. You just keep rocking. I thank you for allowing me to be back on. Listen, I'd like to talk a little bit about those Bengals. It was a good week of football again. 2 eventful games after the divisional week. So the conference champions were must-see football. Who they? Not them same old Bengals, that's for sure.
And talking to a Staten Island defensive coach in yourself, the new head coach of Monsignor Farrell High School, there's another guy in the news, in the eyes of America right now, who's making waves, making some headlines, and he's close to home. I know a lot of people at Monsignor Farrell are rooting for this man. You personally know this guy, and that is Lou Anarumo. You had the privilege of coaching his son, having a relationship with him a little bit, and now seeing him shine on this stage. He's going to be coaching in the Super Bowl. Lou Anarumo, defensive coordinator of the Cincinnati Bengals. What's it like? A big week for football for you, right? This announcement, and now a buddy of yours, a guy who you could look up to, seeing him shine going into the Super Bowl. What's that like for you?
Wow. Yeah. Coach Anarumo, great coach, better person. And he was kind enough to sit and clinic, the Farrell football staff back in the spring of 2020, right before the pandemic began, believe it or not. Still have those notes. Those are notes that I hold near and dear to the heart, and learned a lot that day. Not just about defense, but about the coaching profession and how to get young men to believe in you and believe in your system. And you better believe he's got the Bengals believing. They're one game away from, having a piece of hardware for the rest of their life and making history. What a second half performance, Pete. I know you were watching that with eyes wide open, just to make those adjustments and shut down a prolific offense like the Chiefs is remarkable, and couldn't happen to a better man. And you better believe he's going to have a great plan for Sean McVay and the Rams.
Yeah, what does that mean to you, right? When you hear about adjustments, and this is a nice segue question. We're going to talk about the NFL for a minute here. We're obviously going to get into your story, but you hear about it all the time on Twitter, on analysis shows at halftime or talk shows during the week. It's all about those halftime adjustments, right? Like that may be a little bit more fantasized than it is actually in reality sometimes, because those halftimes fly, right? And you know that as good as anybody. You get in, you get a whiteboard before you finish drawing up your first play. It's like, all right, we got to get back out there. Like what happened, right? So when you see something like that on the biggest stage come out with a plan to shut down Patrick Mahomes, then what does that mean to you? What do you think about when you think about that type of halftime adjustment actually happening in real life?
Well, it starts with the preparation that they put in as a staff prior to that game. They had beat them, I want to say, in week 17 home. Yep. And I said, ooh, it's going to be tough to do that again 3 weeks later at Arrowhead. But you better believe that, when they were breaking down the Chiefs after the win over the Titans, that they had that, drop 8, play more coverage, defense ready to roll. And I think they went in at halftime and said, we gotta change up our looks defensively, and namely start playing coverage and get Pat to go through the full field read and eliminate Tyreek Hill and eliminate Kelsey on all the crossing routes and all the over routes that he loves to hit. And he held on to the ball. They got home a couple times, and then Joe Burr started going to work. It's like a perfect storm. And I believe football is a game of momentum. So, and you saw it, clear as day in the Bucks and Rams the week before. The Bucks stole momentum back, and they rallied back from 24 down, and then it was taken away like that. So, they jumped on the momentum train, the Bengals, and here they are, 60 minutes away from the land of milk and honey.
And you know what? You talk about Anarumo, the DC, doing his thing and leading that group to being probably playing above their heads, right? Being extremely successful this year. And then on the other side, you just mentioned Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty. The kids, honestly, the high school kids who I'm seeing on a day-to-day basis are infatuated with Joe Burrow and what he's accomplishing right now. And everybody is across the world. But specifically, these younger folks are seeing Joe Burrow in year 2 of his career, in his mid-20s, coming from LSU, and now on a team in year 1 that was not very good, going through an ACL injury. It's only 14 months since this guy tore his ACL, and he's playing in the Super Bowl, right? So this guy is grabbing America's heart, pulling at all the strings. As a coach and as a football lover like you are, when you see a dude like that get out there and change a franchise, I don't want to say by himself, right? Because there's way more to the story, but being one of the leading forces behind that, how do you lean into that? Or how do you look at that from your perspective?
So, yeah, right now, Joe Burrow's the face of the NFL. And you hit the nail on the head. I got to believe jersey sales are through the roof. Everyone's on his tail because he's a humble guy. He, he came a long way from being a backup at Ohio State, transferring to LSU. It goes, wins the Natty, first pick of the draft, hits adversity, torn ACL. So the kid's a battle. The kid battles, man. And as a competitor, as a coach, as a teammate, you ride with that. And, they feel pretty dangerous right now, Pete. And when you feel dangerous, a lot of good things can happen. So, I see them going in there and winning. I really do. They just got a lot of momentum, and they're playing fearless. So it's exciting.
And I went through this on last week's episode before he even took down the Chiefs. I went through every single first overall pick quarterback all the way back to 1983 when John Elway was picked number 1 overall.
That was
And
before our time.
yeah, yes, it was. And never has a number 1 overall pick quarterback made a Super Bowl in year 2. Never, not once.
Wow.
We have a few close, right? So Elway made the playoffs in year 2, Super Bowl run in year 3. Patrick Mahomes wasn't the number 1 overall pick, by the way. But in his second year as a starter, 3rd year overall, he went to the Super Bowl. Jared Goff, in his 3rd year, made that Super Bowl run. And let's be honest, right? Jared Goff and Joe Burrow, they ain't really on the same plane right now, right?
No way.
So, Eli Manning is a number 1 overall pick, technically, who was close. He had a playoff appearance in year 2 and 3, Super Bowl run in year 4, right? So, and that's like about it. Peyton Manning didn't get a playoff win until year 6.
Yeah, he struggled.
You know what I'm saying? So what Joe Burrow was on pace for last week was unprecedented. And now that he's here with a Super Bowl appearance and a possible Super Bowl win, if he does this, this will be the quickest turnaround ever for a number 1 overall pick to flip their franchise into a championship winner. That is unbelievably special. And it makes a lot of sense that all these high school athletes that we interact with on a daily basis are looking up to this guy like he's that dude. He is that dude.
I could tell you one person who's got the covers over their head. That's our disgruntled Miami Dolphin fan, Coach Muley.
Yeah.
Poor guy tells me, the Dolphins tried to trade 3 picks for Joe Burrow. They knew he was going to be the real deal. So,
yeah. Yep.
But yeah, he definitely jumped onto the scene, Joe, and it's exciting for the game of football. The last 2 weeks of football, Pete, have been, I use this word a lot, tremendous to say the least. Every game, I believe, ended by 3, multiple games in overtime. NFL's booming right now. Super Bowl is going to be awesome. Eminem's performing at halftime. Matthew Stafford. Detroit got that close. Not so
Yes.
close. But
They're along for the ride, right?
yeah, yeah.
It's like Stafford's bringing along Detroit. Joe Burrow is bringing along LSU. We got a couple other groups of people who are getting brought along for the ride on this one. I think Lou Anarumo is bringing along Staten Island with them to the Super Bowl a little bit here. So it's good stuff. But let's talk about one more thing here, NFL wise, because the Super Bowl is a week and a half away. It's a week and a
Yeah.
half away. So we want to talk more about you, Rock, about your new endeavor as the head coach at Farrell. But my question to you on Matt Stafford, since you just brought him up, so much is made all the time about, who's that dude, who's this good, who's that good, who's a system quarterback, who's the real stud here, who are you voting for MVP? You hear it in all sports, right? All walks of life. And Matt Stafford has been one of these guys who has been very hard to read for a long time. He's on a franchise that's not very well off, the Detroit Lions, but he has great numbers. People say he's a loser. He's a stat patter. No, he's actually elite. He just can't show it. When you hear all that stuff and then you see him get traded to the Rams and they end up in a Super Bowl, where do you think like that meshes? Do you think like his situation clearly plays a big role into it, right? So how do you think that meshes where Stafford has this talent, but he also had a bad situation? Joe Burrow, on the other hand, had this bad situation, kind of flipped it. And now these two are facing off in a weird way. Similar upbringings. Joe Burrow flipped it much quicker. And now Stafford with his new team doing it. So when you think of Stafford and his legacy per se, what do you think about? And how much do you think what can happen in 2 weeks can change how we look about Stafford forever?
So that's a great question, and I'll say this: if Stafford wins, yeah, we will look at his legacy a little different because he won the big one, and you're in a group of people that a lot of quarterbacks wish they were in that group, and he lucked out going to the Rams, a win now team that they said, we're going for it this year. They grabbed Odell Beckham. They grabbed Von Miller. They traded for Jalen Ramsey before that. So they don't have a first. The next time they got a first round draft pick, Little Rock will be the first pick. So, that's a little 5'3" nose guard. But, so Stafford, he had to work out for him that he went to a system that he would flourish in, the Rams wide zone boot, and plays to his strengths of downfield throws and moving in the play action. And I think McVay is as good of a coach in this league, and they caught fire and a new situation in LA. He's a he's not an outgoing guy that would get lost in the limelight in LA. He took it for what it's worth. And same thing, he's 60 minutes away from winning the biggest game of his career.
So let's take that and segue towards some stuff with you. Again, Coach Rocco Del Priore, head coach of Monsignor Farrell High School, as of just last week. So exciting times. And I had a feeling I might be able to get you booked on this show, but I know it's big stuff, So let's start with this here. When you got announced as the head coach at Monsignor Farrell, it is not to be downplayed. Because as I mentioned in the open, if you forgot, you are the 6th head coach in this program's history. This program has been around for just under 60 years, 58 years. You're following some giant footsteps, right? The stadium just got named Coach Dennis Barrett Stadium this past season. He was a giant of a man, of a football coach, right? So I know you understand the gravity that this position holds. And I know you probably thought about this day for a long time, but when it happened, Rock, when you found out it's officially official, you're the head coach of the Lions. What was that like for starters? And then we can get into the reaction of everybody else when they found out too.
It was I mean, I was speechless at the time, and I may still be. It was a lifelong dream. I would have, I'd wait forever for it. It's that special to me, and I hold the program in the highest regard. Outside of my family, it's next, and it was super exciting. Uh, I couldn't wait to get to work the next day to put my stamp on it, and I have big shoes to fill, and it may be a daunting task to some, but for me, this is my dream, and I'm going to give everything I have, and I owe it to the men who coached the program before me, and I owe it to the players that wore the jersey the right way, like yourself, Mr. Kennedy. And we have a great support system, and we have great alumni, we have great players, and we have great coaches. So I'm just super excited, and it's an honor and a privilege, and I won't let anyone down, including you, and including my past players that I coached, and my family. So I'm excited, man. Can't wait to
Yeah.
hear you on local live. Couple home games. Got the best. We had the best play-by-play. Way better than Tony Romo. They can't touch you, my man. I can't wait.
Let's go. I can't wait either, man. It's an exciting season that we just had, obviously, with the semifinal win, the championship appearance, trying to repeat that and step up one more step, obviously coming forward into this next season. And you mentioned a few people there. You mentioned myself. Thank you. Of course, I had your support. And another moment to think about here that I was lucky enough to be involved with and see firsthand was that Zoom with the program, with the players and the parents and the coaches and everyone who's close to the program, where Coach Garafola was everything but actually holding a torch and passing it to you, but he was passing that torch on to you, right? What did that mean to you to be able to sit next to Coach Groff and literally have that moment in real time and have all the closest people to the program see it in real time, the official announcement and the passing of the torch, Coach Groff to Coach Dell as the new head coach? What was that like for you?
So it was everything I dreamed of. To have the entire program there, to have my wife, my loved ones, and for Coach to appoint me as the coach in front of the program was special. It was a special day, and I think he knows that the program's in good hands. And listen, Pete, here's the real reality. Same message, different messenger, bud. So it's business as usual at 2900 Amboy Road. Um, he made me into the coach I am, and I said this, and this holds true. He always empowered me. He always inspired me. Always motivated me to be the coach I am, to be the educator I am, and I won't let him down. And I know he's proud right now, knowing that his guy's in this seat, and he's there with me every step of the way to guide me and help me, and keep breeding great young men like we have.
Yeah, and it's a special moment, and it was one of those things that, you wait for it, all day you're excited, and then it hits, and then boom, you're in front of 150 plus people and talking, putting your heart in your sleeve. And anybody who knows you knows that putting your heart in your sleeve is not something new to you. That's something you do every single day, right? And I would even go to add, and this is more of a personal, add to the story that I'll put on here. Anybody who's ever watched you coach, right? Just watched you coach from afar. They hear the energy, they hear that deep voice you got, they hear the defensive calls and the whatnot going on with the specifics of defense that I may or may not understand because I didn't play defense, right? But nah, they hear the outside stuff. But what they don't see every day is that after you know, went to the entire program, accepting the role as head coach and taking the congratulations and talking to people, that the next day you were back in for workouts. The next day you were with all the student athletes at the school, right? And that's what it's all about, right? It's at the ground floor. And that's something that when you coached me for 4 years, which was incredibly lucky if you think about it, right? You started off way back when, freshman team coach. When I went to JV, so did you. And
Yep,
then when
I
you
moved
went
up
to
with you.
varsity, so did I, right? We went through the same progression. So I saw you do it for 4 years, which was lucky. And what people who only hear you yelling from the sideline about the coverage or ref, I can't believe he called that penalty there, or let's go foul. Who's hungry, right? Like all these things that you hear on the outside about Coach Rocco Del Priore. That's only the surface. That's the outside for a reason. We all seen on the inside the groundwork that you have laid with so many student athletes about every day, not about Saturdays, not about Friday nights, about Monday through Sunday, 365. And the fact that this big announcement comes on Monday and Tuesday you're at workouts ready to get some lifts with Coach Schmitty. To me, that's obvious, right? But talk to that point of how come that's so important to you to be the full package, not just as a coach, but a mentor for these kids.
So, as a coach, we and I asked you this, but we ask our student athletes to sacrifice so much. So, to do well in school, you know, early mornings, late nights, the hot days in the summer, Fridays and Saturdays in the fall. So, how could I not give that same effort each day, right? And day in and day out. I owe it to you as the player, Pete, to do everything in my power. And I told them, and this will never change, I'm going to give the same energy, the same emotion, and the same excitement every day, because I believe the players will do so too. And just the outpouring support and love that I received that day from, my past players, alumni, family members, co-workers, the faculty from the school, even rivals, brother. A lot of people were kind enough to reach out and say, congratulations, best of luck. And that makes you want to work even harder. It makes you want to work even harder. So I said this is not a job for me because it's not work. I believe this is why, this is why I'm here. So I know the fall's a long way away, but we got a lot of work to do to get there, and we'll work every day. It's like shaving. If you miss one day of coaching, right, you look like a bum. Wait, I'm sorry. If you miss one day of shaving, you look like a bum. That's the same with coaching. Miss one
Right.
day, you look like a bum.
And it can happen that quick. And that's why it is important to have that groundwork in. And it's also important to have a foundation, which obviously was set last year with you guys going to make a championship run facing off Iona in the New York City championship. And now as a coach, as the top leader, right? Obviously you were one of the top assistants, you were defensive coordinator last year. Now you're the guy, right? You're the guy who's getting questioned by a reporter after a game. You're the guy who every parent's calling. You're the guy who every kid's going to come to. You're the guy who every teacher's going to come, right? You're now that dude, right? So you have this great season last year. Now expectations are up, obviously. And now these kids, these young men, I really got to call them, right? These young men, these student athletes, they have an expectation. How do you balance now going to the moon, right? Striving for the moon, but also making sure they understand that it doesn't just happen on Fridays, right? They got to do the whole thing to get there. They got to work the whole summer. They got to go to camp. They got to weight lift. They got to stretch. They got to be in shape. So how do you balance the expectations of making a run with making sure that they're grounded with putting in the work Monday through Friday, Monday through Sunday?
You forgot that I'm also the guy now on Subway Sports Talk. So that was one of the perks too. But absolutely. So the standard is the standard that we want to get back into that game and ultimately win it. They're gonna know along the line the work that needs to go into that. And I got a lot of respect for the 2021 team, Pete. That team put some major hard work in to get to that point. That team was worried there wasn't going to be a season. Those seniors played a shortened spring season, right, for their junior year due to the pandemic. And each day they came to work, with that in the back of their mind that they appreciate everything because you never know when it could be gone. And they set a bar of hard work that I believe our new rising seniors, juniors right now in school terms, with seniors in football are understand that that's the standard and they're going to have to hold those accountable too. And me as the head coach, same with the coaches, are, going to demand two things. We work hard and we have some fun. We're going to have a lot of fun at 2900 Amboy Road. We're going to win football games and we're going to strive to get better each and every day and play our best football in November.
And yeah, that's what it's all about, right? And it doesn't start tomorrow. It started yesterday, right? Like it's been going on, and that's the same energy you got to keep up throughout. And now I want to talk about some of those guys, right? Because the luxury that you have is that foundation you just spoke of. There was a bunch of talented seniors who made a huge difference on this program last season. There's some juniors who made some plays last year as
Yep.
well, and those juniors are becoming seniors they'll become your captains. They'll become your leaders. And you're expecting big things out of some of those guys. So, and some juniors too, because there were some sophomores on this team last year who made an impact,
Absolutely.
right? So now that you are in the position here to lead this entire program, who you thinking about? What type of players do you need to come out and give that extraordinary effort that take the same path that your seniors from last year did?
Yeah, I think and they had the opportunity to learn from some great seniors that we'll miss along the way. But yeah, we got a strong nucleus coming back. And it starts with Messiah Birch. I'm going to go on here and say the best player in New York City. Dynamic, electric running back. Could score from anywhere on the field, any touch. He'll keep a lot of defensive coordinators up at night, you know, prior to that game. And we have a lot of pieces around him. Quarterback Christian Pinto had won 8 games as a sophomore in the New York City AAA division. The amount of work he's put in since the day that championship ended to now, I've already seen his game, rise. And I expect him to be one of the, if not the top QB in the league. I feel that good about him there. Amongst others, skill-wise, Sean Keegan, Justin Guzman, Nick Sufrin, who started at corner. He was one of the sophomore boys too. He'll be playing some receiver. But, we're going to start and stop with our offense and defensive line. And, one of our guys in the middle there that he'll be a 3-year starter now, Anthony War Daddy Mazza. This is your lunch pail program type kid that is doesn't say much, but his play talks on the field. So he had more pancakes last year than IHOP, and I expect that. It's the truth, Pete, and I expect the same thing. His counterpart Brady Quinn, another sophomore who started on varsity, he's someone I'm looking forward to having another solid season. He'll be a junior. Amongst others, a few seniors that we're looking to step up and really find a role and make some plays. On defense, we turn our whole secondary. John Caulfield. So, he was a 2-year starter already, started as a sophomore, junior this past season. Dynamic, do-it-all type guy. Besides shutdown safety, he was our punter, and as the year went on, started getting touches on offense. And there'll be plenty more where that came from this coming year. He'll be what we call an Iron Man. So the only break he'll get is on the kickoff team. But he's shown some colleges are really interested in him. These guys are going to have a big spring as we'll go up and down the Northeast to various camps and 7-on-7 tournaments. So a lot of exciting things in Oakwood. Looking forward to our 2 junior defensive linemen who played in the varsity last year, Yasier De Jesus and Luis Martinez. They're working day in and day out with Coach Schmitty. He's making them pop. So they got big springs ahead. And we had a freshman on varsity this year, Seth Clark, that each college that's came in this spring to evaluate our boys keep asking, who's this guy? Who's this guy? So looking forward to Seth jumping on the scene as a sophomore, amongst others. I
Hey,
could talk all day about the Lions,
we can
brother.
talk about every single guy, of course, right? But we got other stuff to talk about. And you said something that I actually really wanted to get into. And I think this is a topic that people from Farrell and not from Farrell could be interested in. It's just one of those things that has changed so much about the game of football. And you hear about it at the highest level. So you hear about quarterbacks coming into the league, right? We're just talking about Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty, right? Like he is one of the guys who did this 7-on-7s and camps. Rock, like you've been coaching now for what? Probably what?
16 years.
16 years, and then you played for some years before that. So can you talk about the difference between, I don't even know what do you want to go 10 years ago? I graduated 10 years ago and we did maybe 1 or 2 7-on-7s. Now 1 or 2 7-on-7s is a week of football for
Yep.
some of these programs, right? So can you talk about the difference that's made on some of these players and on some of these programs, just the wealth of knowledge and experience that you can gain from the opportunities that exist with these 7-on-7s and camps and pro days and et cetera, that have just exploded over the past 5 years or so, and how you've seen that and incorporated it into your coaching.
So absolutely, I'm a big fan of the college camps and the 7-on-7 work for a variety of reasons. Our boys love football, Pete. So it's exciting that they got a football in their hand, you know, 10 months out of the year. So these camps are a great way for our boys to showcase their skills, versus a wide, a wide audience of players from around the Northeast. We play our normal opponents, the AAA, a few island schools. When we go to these 7-on-7s and these college camps, they're getting exposed to some competition they'll never see, and they're able to be evaluated by colleges. And that's today the college's way of seeing, hey, is Peter Kennedy a Division I football player? Yeah, what's he measure at? And trust me, if we would have had these 7-on-7s back in 2010, kid, you would have been on ESPN. They don't
Yeah,
know. Your fans don't know. 3-sport athlete,
you
the
know,
yeah, the choice route king.
they'll
They
find
used to
out one
put
day. They'll find
they
out.
used to put 2 on you. Well, if we get back to Farrell, if I get back to Farrell alumni game, you're my first pick.
Let's go, baby. I
Yeah.
can catch any ball. Lou shout out to Lou Cicero. He might have the best hands, but I think I could take him with some steps at this point, So I'll make up for it.
Lou don't get the yak. He gets the first down.
Yes, exactly. Possession
Yeah,
receiver.
you're yards after catch guy. You're like Jamar Chase. I get you.
Oh my
We hit you
gosh,
with a screen, you're going.
that's nice.
But
Depending if I'm
yeah,
playing
so
against like some ignorance, maybe.
but what you're seeing now is um athletes in New York City are playing football, like I said, 10 months out of the year. And the skills in the pass game and, skill wide play has gotten a lot better. There's flag leagues galore. So kids are starting younger with that, and the hand-eye coordination, the QB mechanics are all, fine-tuned because they're doing it more. So that's exciting to
Reps,
see.
right?
Need
Just
some
the
more
sheer.
work for the linemen, man, like me.
That's true. It's a great point, and the sheer reps that a quarterback gets in today's football game versus what they got 10, 20, 30 years ago. Geez, I mean, if
Yep.
you go back way back, it's completely different. But you're right. There's not an equivalent per se for the linemen. Now, yeah, at the camps they do their non-pad, more hand battling and whatnot, a little forearm shiva action, perhaps. I know that's a term that you like to throw around, but
There you go.
a little forearm shiva. So it's not the same, but the reps that these receivers, these DBs, these quarterbacks get is insane. And it can put them on a path to being so much more comfortable once the fall rolls around. Now, with that being said, is there anything that as a head coach of a regular football team, not a flag team, not a 7-on-7 team, as a head coach of a regular football team that you have to be cautious of, or that you have to remind your kids, your athletes, hey, you're not Jamar Chase. You're not Des Bryant. Yeah, you're not this guy. You're not that guy. They might not even know Des Bryant. He's a little bit older now, but you get the point. Is there anything that you have to make sure is understood that you might have to reel back on? Or are you saying get all these reps, get all this experience, test yourself against all this and that? So is there a balance there? Is there any negatives, any drawbacks you have to be careful with as a head coach?
There is. And you worry about wear and tear. You do too much of this, and Coach Smitty will tell you, the best ability is availability, right? So you go to all these camps and do all this work, and your body breaks down. But it's necessary to go, but overkill is something that we worry about. So we're creative in how we let our kids choose their camps. Are you going for the camp for experience? Are you going to the camp because you see yourself playing there in a few years? And the you know there's football purists who say 7-on-7 is not real football. I get it. We enjoy it for the competition aspect for our team. It's always great to compete, and it's good from a pass game and a defensive backfield coverage wise to implement our schemes. But you don't want to do too much of that because, football's 11-on-11 with a rush, and you see some of the receivers get a little creative and try and be Odell Beckham and do the icky shuffle before they go to catch a pass, and that's not going to work. That's not going to work when you got a 3-star defensive end rushing your QB. So that's a
You're a
great
linebacker
question.
waiting to knock the ball out, that too.
Right.
As a receiver, you get too comfortable going across the middle in 7-on-7. You get too comfortable going up for a ball on a post or on a deep shot because at most you're just going to get pushed over, right? At most you're just going to get knocked down to the ground. You're going to land on somebody else. In the
A
real
little
games,
different. Yep.
a little bit different, right?
When
And
John Caulfield's waiting for you.
exactly. And the quarterbacks, it's the same concept. I'm sure with the 7-on-7s now, they're pretty smart with it. There's probably a count, I have to imagine.
Yeah, 4
Right? They're
seconds.
not gonna let them sit back there for 8 seconds. But still, they get comfortable. They don't have to see the pocket the way they would have to in a normal situation, right? Because everyone talks about athleticism for quarterback, and they think about straight line speed, taking off on 3rd and 7, picking up a first down. Obviously, that stuff's important. But the quick twitch reactivity inside the pocket, the athleticism inside the pocket to move from your normal drop back to up a step to the right. That's the stuff that maybe doesn't get incorporated there quite as much, but still, the reps are still positive. I have to imagine,
Without a doubt. It's a good thing for the spring. It's a good thing for the kids to get out there and play, but you can develop bad habits. So we're aware of that for sure.
Yeah. So now my next question here on this front is in regards to your experience as a coach in general. So, you coached defense when I was with you. I think all 4 of those years you were a defensive coach, but you've had experience now at this point, coaching offense, coaching offensive line, coaching all sorts of positions. And, as a defensive coordinator, you can't just be on your game about D-line. You got to be up there on the linebackers, on the defensive backs. You've done your fair share of special teams. Taking all this experience that you've put together over the past 15 to 20 years now, what do you think is most important in that regard now as the head coach? Because even if and I don't know what the word is, doesn't really matter, but some head coaches are defensive specialists, some head coaches are offensive specialists. You had experience on both sides of the football. How important is that to you to feel strong about your positions on both sides, offense and defense?
Well, I think it starts with the fundamentals of each position. And as the head coach, I need to monitor and make sure our coaches are working these techniques and these individual skills. And we're implementing our schemes, in a way that our athletes are retaining the information and being able to produce. We got to properly practice these skills, Pete. I believe in repetition. It's important. We want to make these experiences enjoyable, where they develop these skills, they develop game intelligence, and I believe playing football should be fun. I want the kids playing with a smile, and we're going to instill this in every player. And you could always control your outcome, but seldom you could control the outcome of the game. So we're going to set goals for the team, collectively and individually. These goals are going to be challenging. We're going to require them to, go above and beyond. And we're going to look to improve day by day. And I believe if we do that, we're going to be more than fine. I'm excited. We're surrounded by great men, and we're surrounded by great players. There's a lot of great senior leaders. I'm fortunate enough that this senior group, the Nick Rosinis, the John Caulfields, the Justin Guzmans, the Anthony Mazes, these boys are leaders. So I can rest easy at night knowing our coaches are going to instill their techniques. They're going to work with their position groups, and then collectively into the separate groups of offense, defense, and specials. And we should put a product out on the field that Oakwood's going to be proud of. Hopefully a lot of house calls from none other than Subway Sports Talk's own Peter Kennedy.
I mean, I got to figure out. I only really went house call on one guy.
I love that.
Shout out
I love
for the house calls, and the best, none other than the big time Stepanak was it 45, 55? Was it past the 50? That one run he scooted out on the counter in the playoff game. Was that over 50 yards? That house call perhaps the most exciting one. But Ethan Yak house call. I might have to find a new candidate for the house call this year, and I'm looking forward to it, honestly.
Definitely. You got some good one-liners.
You got to keep it interesting in there, you know? You got to keep people on their toes. Got to have fun with it. As a broadcaster, I try to have fun with it too. You know, I take it serious and I want to get my calls right. I want to keep everybody informed. But if I'm not having fun, you're not going to have fun at home. So I'm trying to have my fun there too with Joe Logan. Rock, my last question for you, and then I'll let you close out with whatever you want. Because you know, we're gonna get ready to say goodbye in a little bit here.
Sure.
This one is not particularly Farrell related. It could be, could not be, doesn't really matter. You're coaching for 15 plus years now. You just became a head coach of a program that you dreamed of becoming a head coach. What would you say to young coaches out there? People who maybe just graduated college, who are interested, maybe they never quite reached out to become part of that staff back at their old school or at their college or at a different school that they moved to the new neighborhood, doesn't matter, right? What would you say to a young coach who either just started in the industry or is thinking about taking that leap and becoming part of a program? You know, do you have any advice, or what would you just say in words of encouragement?
Yeah, absolutely. So learn something positive from every experience. And when I did my master's at Brooklyn College, one of the professors said, be a lifelong learner. And I believe that, you know, that hit right home with me. And, you know, I've only coached at Monsignor Farrell, Pete, but you know, I did my homework elsewhere. And, you know, I've been fortunate enough to come across coaches from other sports, you know, especially at Newdorf. I'm a phys ed teacher with 12 other teachers, and 5 or 6 of them are coaches and successful ones. So, you know, I would suggest pursuing education every day. You know, you know, you got to really be flexible enough that you're willing to reach your potential and exceed personal experience. And then I think you never compromise your principles or your integrity for short-term success, because, you know, ultimately success comes from a solid foundation they built over time, right? And just keep continually pushing yourself. And I said this and I'll say it again, like, never doubt that you're the one, and you could have your dream.
That's damn good. Never stop learning. Never doubt you're the one, because you could have the dream. That's right. That's right there. That might be the tagline of the episode. That's a beautiful thing. Coach Rocco Del Priore, head coach of Monsignor Farrell High School, the 6th ever head coach in 58 years of the historic program over there in Staten Island. And yeah, maybe I'm biased because I went there and played there. But if you know anybody from the island, they know the Lions, they're roaring. And Coach Rocco Del Priore has them still roaring through the 20s and beyond. So, Rock, any last words for Subway Sports Talk? Anything to say on your way out here before you say goodbye?
Pete, thank you. Love what you do. You know, listen, I'm excited right now. I know we got a long road ahead, and I'm enjoying every moment. It's not what we have to do, it's what we get to do. And I get to be the head football coach of Monsignor Farrell. So it was a dream. Now the dream is to give the men in our program the same experience I had. And that was, you know, a great education and great lifelong experiences learned through the great game of football. So I can't thank you enough. Hopefully I get invited back for the pre-Super Bowl talk with Patty Boyle.
Yes, sir.
And I'd love to get you to have a podcast with the entire CHSFL, because you're that good. They need to be exposed to, in my opinion, you know, one of the best in the business at this right now. And like, you're gonna keep pursuing your dream, and before you know it, you'll be calling, you know, not the next Super Bowl, maybe the next national championship.
There we go. Man. Something like that. We'll see what happens. You know, I think coaching cross references life in a million ways. Obviously, everyone always makes the comparison between sports and life in general, but in particular, some of the stuff you said about coaching and learning forever. never stopping to learn and never doubting yourself. And one day you can get what you want, right? One day you can reach that goal. And now I've been becoming sort of a coach for broadcasting too, right? Some of the students over at Farrell in the broadcast program, shout out to my guys, Rob Russo, Joe Logan, a bunch of other Nick
Love
Foster,
them.
right? Because I'm assuming obviously some normal Subway Sports Talk listeners listening now, who the hell are all these people you're talking about? But assuming we'll have some Farrell listeners, shout out to those guys. And I get excited coaching them up. Not that I'm a perfect broadcaster, because I'm not. I'm still young in this game. I'm still trying to get a whole lot better at this. That's why I do it every single week to try and get better and keep pushing forward. But, I try to learn from every broadcast I listen to. And like you kind of were alluding to before, whether you completely agree with somebody, whether you think they did the best job in the world or they did a bad job, you can learn from anybody. You can learn from the worst broadcaster. You can learn from the best broadcaster. You can learn from a great coach, a coach that you didn't really vibe with as much, right? So every experience can push you forward. And that's why sports, coaching, and all these things equate to life so well. And that's why I was listening to you talk. I was like, makes a lot of sense in everything. Never stop learning. Never stop trying to get better. Never doubt yourself, and you can reach your goals. I loved it. So, Rock, thank you for the inspiration. I'm excited to be part of this journey from where I'm at Farrell, and as a former player and friend of yours. So I'm thrilled. The program is in amazing hands. I know a lot of people agree. And man, the fall can't come soon enough. I'll tell you that much. I can't come soon enough.
Nah, not yet. We need Coach Smitty to get them back squatting a little more, then we'll play.
That's a good point.
That's going to be the advantage. You heard it here. You heard it here on February 1st, bud. Our boy Rob Schmidt's going to be the advantage. A lot of people said we lost that championship in the weight room. Not this year.
Nah, that's the truth. And Schmitty, man, those kids respond to him. You talked about bringing energy. You talked about learning and bettering yourself and never doubting that you're the one, man. That's what I see in him every day. And
all day.
It's easy to say it as being a great friend to him, but actually just seeing it when he's down there working out with all those student athletes every single day. He would work out from 3:00 till 10 p.m. if he had to. He wouldn't care. He is about the business. He's about getting better. He's about learning and teaching these kids what they need, man. It's beautiful. So shout out to Schmitty. Shout out to everybody on the staff and beyond, at the school and beyond, all the alumni out there. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this episode. It was fun for me, Rock. Hopefully it was fun for you. Any last words, or is it time for goodbye?
Just a big thank you to the man running the show, Pete Kennedy. Thanks so much. Via Fidelis.
Via Fidelis. There you go. Subway Sports Talk, y'all. Thanks for listening. Cheers.